Title: The Weight of Shadows. I unlocked the door to my childhood home, the air inside hanging heavy with stale memories and the taste of pity that clung to me like a shadow for years. My family had always thought me insane, of course, for pursuing the absurdity of supernatural pest control. "You'll disgrace us," they'd sneered, voices dripping with disdain. A disgrace to the Blackman name. Those words had twisted in my gut like a festering wound, but they couldn't know what I'd uncovered. Not yet. I stepped inside, the wood creaking beneath me, echoing the ghosts of laughter that had taunted my dreams. I remembered the day I gathered my insect samples, the ones I swore were imbued with the whispering souls of the damned. My colleagues had laughed, their mockery ringing in my ears, drowning out the voices I'd insisted were real. Each buzzing voice had carried a story, an echo of something beyond. And while I had felt their pain, my family had only seen my descent into madness. "Look who's finally come home!" My sister Anna's voice rang out from the kitchen, laced with a mix of surprise and something darker. "You're back? I thought you were too busy chasing shadows." She didn't know the weight of those shadows, how they clung to my skin like a second layer, whispering truths that left me shaking. I forced a smile. "I've brought some interesting insight." "Insight?" my brother Mark scoffed from the living room. "More like delusions. You know the whole town thinks you're nuts, right?" A laugh erupted from my father, deep and mocking, a sound that sent a chill through my spine. "What is it this time? More stories about ghosts in the graveyards?" "Actually," I said, my voice steadying, "I've found something that proves they're not just stories." The words spilled out, each one heavier than the last. The dead aren't just dead. They linger, bound to the earth by the unresolved, by their suffering. For a moment, silence hung in the air. The laughter from my siblings faded, replaced by an uncomfortable tension, and I could feel the weight of their disbelief pressing down, suffocating. But they wouldn't understand. They hadn't witnessed the horrors I had faced. "Let me show you," I said, my heart racing. They needed to see, to feel what I had become. I reached into my bag, retrieving a glass vial filled with shimmering, iridescent dust. "This is residue from the last infestation I encountered. It binds the souls to their resting place. I've learned how to interact with them, how to listen." Anna looked at the vial with mounting apprehension. "Are you serious? You're going to show us what? Some weird science project?" "Not just science. This is a warning," I replied, a tremor in my voice. "Enough." My father snapped, the authority in his voice a brittle facade. "You need help. You're talking nonsense." But the moment I shattered the vial onto the living room floor, everything changed. A low hum vibrated through the air, seeping into our bones. Shadows crept from the corners, twisting and writhing like smoke. The room transformed into a dimly lit theater of the damned. I felt the air grow cold, time slipping as the walls we once knew bent and warped. I watched in horror as apparitions, pale and sorrowful, emerged from the depths of despair, their faces contorted in anguish. They hovered just above the ground, their forms flickering like dying flames, and they turned their hollow eyes toward my family. What is happening?" Mark stammered, fear etched in his features. "They don't know peace," I whispered, my heart racing. "They're trapped. I knew it, just like I knew the voices were real." The spirits began to swirl around us, lamenting, crying out, their echoes intertwining with the fabric of my own memories. I could feel the energy thrumming in my veins, a connection I had forged through endless nights of exploration and countless encounters with the unknown. "Please, we didn't believe you." Anna's voice trembled, the bravado of earlier crumbling. We were wrong. Just make them stop. But the spirits were relentless, their wails rising into a cacophony of despair. I felt their pain, their longing for release, and suddenly I understood the burden they carried. Each one represented a story untold, a life unfulfilled. "Why didn't you listen?" I cried, my voice trembling. "I tried to warn you." Then, just as quickly as it began, the shadows pulled back, retreating into the corners, leaving behind whispers of anguish that lingered in the air like a bitter perfume. My family stood frozen, their expressions a mix of terror and disbelief, whilst the remnants of the spirits faded into nothingness. "See?" I said softly, the weight of my triumph heavy in the air. "You didn't want to believe. You thought I was mad, but now you know the truth." Their eyes darted around. They were trapped in a web of their own disbelief. The faces of the dead lingered in their minds, their cries echoing long after the shadows had faded. They were forced to confront the very horror they had mocked, the price of their scorn now echoing in their hearts. "I'm not just a disgrace," I said, a quiet strength emerging from within. "I'm a warning. You thought I was lost, but I survived what you could never face." As I turned to leave, I could hear their voices rising in a frantic chorus behind me, filled with regret and disbelief. They had brought this upon themselves, a tragic irony that sang in the air like a mournful chorus. I stepped outside, the night enveloping me, and in that darkness I felt the weight of the shadows become a crown, a testament to my journey. The world was vast and filled with horrors untold, but now I was the one who had faced them. I had become the very thing they feared, yet in that moment I knew I wasn't just a survivor. I was their reckoning. And as the chill of the night settled around me, I could only hope my family would remember the truth. A truth born from shadows. And the cost of ignorance.